People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, on today's episode, we have a magician buddy of mine. I'm so happy to have this guy. Jason Palter, a Canadian magician. They have magicians all the way up in Canada, too. Canada? In Canada, too. And this guy, I mean, he's over the border, but he's a cool dude. I love him. I don't know what else I could say about him. He's a funny guy. He was there for me when I was going through Penn and Teller Fool Us. He coached me every step of the way, and it was a phone call I can make 24 hours a day if I had any questions. The guy's like a brother to me. I'm so happy to have him in my life. Everybody, it's Jason Palter.
Woohoo!
What's up, buddy?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wes. I'm happy to have you guys in my life, too. Thank you. Great introduction, though. That was fabulous.
Right?
What did I say, Canada?
Yeah, how's Canada, Jason? How's Canada?
It's a foreign winter place. It's always snowy.
It's good. It's good.
Oh, gosh.
So what's things up there with COVID now? We're haven't talked to you in over a year. Are things open? How are shows up there? Are people doing magic now, or everybody's still locked down?
Yes, for sure. To be clear, we haven't spoken on this platform. You and I speak more often, but yes, it's we've spoken before. I hope we've spoken before that. It's we're heading down to another thing because the new variant is out. And you remember, guys, my wife and I got COVID last March 20. Oh, sorry, what was that? 8 months ago. March 20. This year.
Okay.
So it was. It was not. I've never been that sick. Never been that sick in my life. It was unreal. But so things are shutting down again for holiday season. It seems like we're not in total lockdown, and hopefully we don't go to that point. But it's tough. I walk around the grocery store, shopping mall, and you see everybody in front of you, and that's certainly how we are up here with, everyone's wearing masks, and most people aren't good at it. And it makes me sad because this is just not how we were programmed as human beings to be. I mean, just, I miss seeing people's smiles and all that, but it is what it is. Your kids now, your babies will have, your twins will have absolutely no memory of anybody not having masks until we're finally, when the world isn't like this, because what a time for them to be born.
Right.
It's so crazy, too, because I'm a hugger, man. I go to church and I hug everybody I see, and that's just how I introduce myself to people. I hug my friends, I hug family, and now everybody wants you to stay away from them, wear a mask, and,
do an elbow bump or fist bump.
Even fist bumps, people are, iffy of nowadays, and it's like, man, where's that connection? It's hard. And I had a show yesterday where I got 5 kids on stage, and they were all masked. I wasn't, but they were all masked. And it's hard to see the smile and the interaction and the reaction when the kids, their mouth gapes open. Their eyes didn't change when their mouth gapes open.
Right.
So it's
right.
So difficult.
It is. It's a real challenge on so many levels. And I guess different regions, depends where you go. I don't know what it's like for you guys down there, but I mean, our cases once again are going up, and you've got such a divide of people who are vaccine, not vaccine, anti-vaccine. This is a conspiracy. This isn't real. It's not that bad, and it's sad as well because you're hearing stories of people, at least certainly up here, and I'm sure down in the U.S. as well. It's dividing families. So I've got a friend of mine. She does quite a bit of work for me, and she is adamant about not getting vaccinated, her and her son. And we don't discuss it. This is not. We talk about lots of other things. We don't talk about this. It's sort of like you don't talk about politics, religion, or vaccination. But her family is less and less wanting to be with her, or even wanting outdoor visits or anything like that. It's dividing her as well from them. So it's too bad. It's a very challenging time this globe is going through, and yet it's amazing for people people who, like ourselves, who are in business for ourselves, because we work for ourselves, we're entrepreneurs. And it was an amazing line that I heard that was from a coach, and I've been stealing this because I think it's a great line. It says, and I would say this to all the magicians and the performers out there as well, because we're all entrepreneurs. It says, entrepreneurs today are what warriors were in the Middle Ages. And I thought that was such a powerful line, because we have had to figure this out. Because we don't work for a company.
Right.
We don't have sick leave. We don't have benefits. We're doing this all ourselves. How do we do this? We're warriors. We're absolute warriors. And you know, you can look at the negativity of, oh my gosh, it's bad, but also look at what we figured out to do. Like for Wes, I can't remember. Did you guys do a lot of virtual shows, or were you just live?
We did about 12.
12, right? So even that, if we as magicians were to talk, you know, before the plague hit in 2020, and say, this is what's going to happen, and people are going to pay us to do virtual shows. We're going to set up lights and cameras and everything in our houses. We just laugh and say, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we're doing it.
Yeah.
We've done it. I mean, some people, it's astounding. It's just astounding in how people are. Your companies have said, no, we will never let you work from home. You have to come in the office. And these companies have figured out to have a workforce successfully working from home. It's tremendous. It's just, I mean, obviously a massage therapist won't be able to do that. You can't do that from a distance. But how many people who didn't think they'd be able to do what they do and figure that out? We figured it out. So, I mean, that's, you know, it's such a horrible time for all of us, but for so many people who've lost loved ones and have been sick or whatever, but also the triumphs that we've hit as well, I think is quite tremendous.
That's a very positive way to think about it. That's awesome. I like it.
Thank you.
I like being thought of as a warrior. Can I be an Amazonian warrior? I said I like being thought of as a warrior. I want to be an Amazonian warrior.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Sure. And Natalie, you got the height as well, so it's perfect. Because apparently Amazons were tall as well, so it's perfect.
There
That's
you
great.
go.
Being an Amazonian, that's great.
Yes.
I'm scared of her, Jason. I don't mess with her.
What?
Well, dude, this whole thing, you're talking about COVID and everything, and, you know, the positive was we're a warrior, we are adaptable. We pulled through it. Somehow, some way, entertainment lived through all of that, telling you can't go to restaurants, you can't go to theaters, you can't do this, you can't do that. We turned it around and made it happen. We can. No, but we're going to do it this way.
Right. And, you know, it doesn't always look the same. It's shaped differently in some ways, but we're still doing it, and this is not what's going to wipe out the human race. We will figure this out, and we are. But and of course, I mean, now I appreciate you saying that. You know, my positivity. I try to be optimistic about stuff, but yeah, I'm human as well. I get down on this stuff too, and you get a little depressed, and a little sad sometimes. But it's what I always say: when you're faced with something, y'all have two choices. You either lay down in a ditch and die, or number two, Nike, just do it.
Yeah.
You have to. There's no choice. Look, you guys just had twins, plus you got a kid, and you guys have got animals and shows to do and money to make. How do you do? I don't know. You just figure it out. And anybody who has kids, you know, when the baby has a cold and is sick and is up all night crying, you figure, I'm just going to scream. How am I going to do it? And you look back on it years later and say, how did I figure that out? I just did. I just did it. And This is what I think, in many ways, as horrible a time as this is, as we are trying to be resilient and get through what we are, you know, people will be writing books and telling stories about this for generations. But we just did it. We had to. We had no other choice.
Exactly.
Well, I remember, so I became friends with Penn Jillette during this whole pandemic thing. You know, my Fool Less episode aired. They're doing my trick in their show. He's emailing me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the treadmill, and I got an email from Penn. And I came in the house just glowing, and I'm like, Natalie, what do I say back? What do I say back? Because I'm extra thinking it, you know. How is he going to take it? Because when you talk to somebody on the phone, you can hear their intent, you can hear their laughter. When you write something snarky on an email, you don't know if it's a joke, you don't know if they're being rude, you don't know. Right. So I'm getting her to tweak this email that I'm sending him back in 50 different ways. Does that look all right? Is that okay? Okay, I'm pushing send. Oh no, I'm sending it to my friend. Natalie, does it look okay? But I told him, he said, how's everything going? I said, man, I'm a unemployed magician in a pandemic with newborn twins on the way. But I'm doing all right. And he just emailed me back and said, this too shall pass. And a warm feeling came over me, and I'm like, he is 100% right. You know, I can stress all day long, but this too shall pass. He's 1,000% right. It was perfect words from a guy that talks nonstop and is verbose and loud, and just this too shall pass that was the words I needed to hear that day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely, and it's a lovely torch to take to pass on to one of your friends or family or whatever who are saying the same thing. You just say, it'll be okay. You will get through this. You will figure this out. This isn't your first rodeo. It won't be your last. And this too shall pass. It's true. It's great. Good. It's good of him to say that. And I'm glad that it landed on you in such a way that you were able to take that in that way, and it helped. So that's good.
Well, I mean, Natalie is in the office. She does all the booking. She helps in every show, loading and unloading and taking care of the kids and making dinners. And I mean, she does a ton. And yeah, I can brag about her all day long. But in my mind and the back of my head as a man, I'm the breadwinner of the family. That's not true. I mean, she works her butt off. But in my head, I have to support this family and keep this family afloat. Because everybody, my words are wrong, and I know it might sound bad. Everybody's on my coattails. I need to book that show. I need to have money coming in to feed the family. Right. So, I'm out in the gym, and that's really on my head. I'm really struggling. I got newborn babies on the way. Holy crap, what are we going to do? And, this too shall pass. It's like, yep. That's 100% right.
And it is amazing also when you look at what our friends, people you hear about around the world, our family, have in the darkest times with the littlest bits, how they've figured it out. They've gotten assistance, they've gotten help, they've gotten a helping hand, they've gotten some advice, they heard words from a famous magician, like Ken saying that to you. Something happens where you do it, you get through it, and you're able to look back on it and say, holy crap, I mean, I did it. And it's a good feeling to do that. I don't know what else to say on that. It's true.
Yeah. So we spent 10 minutes on COVID. Now let's do one more scary subject, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. Because last year when we were talking on our podcast, we were talking about restaurants and how, I got my start in restaurants. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for restaurants. A lot of people poo-poo restaurants, but I think restaurants are a really great thing for magicians, especially somebody beginning 100%. To learn their chops, to learn how to talk to strangers, to read an audience, and you get a chance to do it every 6 minutes. You can try that trick out 1,000 times. I want to get into all that, but you had another health scare this year besides COVID. Tell everybody about that.
So, I mean, again, it is what it is, but I had a major heart attack 3.5 months ago, and I almost perished from it. It was extremely close. Now, if you've seen my pictures online or watched me on Telefugalus, if you met me in person, you see I'm not a heavy guy. I mean, yeah, sure, I can lose some weight, and I don't smoke, I don't drink. I probably haven't exercised as much as I should have in the past year and a half, sitting on my butt during COVID, but, fairly healthy. And I had a major heart attack. What they told me afterwards is that people who go through me, I guess they have an average in this country, whatever, apparently a very, very small percentage of people make it. I mean, I had to be shocked back into life. I had a near-death experience. I was airlifted by a a helicopter to ambulance and all this stuff. I mean, it was quite significant. And again, when anybody has had an experience like that, you know, it makes you think, makes you reconsider stuff and all that. So I'm doing better, thank goodness. I was very, very fortunate. Most people don't get the chance, and as I say, I wasn't done. I had more time to spend with my amazing wife and amazing children and my clients and my friends like you, my family, and whatever. But it's you know, things, I also just, everything happens because it's supposed to happen. And, you know, it's inspired a lot of my friends to say, you know what, I'm going to go get my blood pressure checked and you know what, I'm going to go get back on that treadmill again. You know, I'm going to go get some blood testing, check my cholesterol, et cetera. In my case, it was, you know, yes, stress-related, but certainly hereditary, and there's not much you can do about that. But when a friend of mine last week said to me, you know, my goodness, Jason, what a year you've had. I mean, forget everything in business and COVID and all that. You guys got horrible COVID, very, very serious in March, and you had this heart attack. Like, what a year you've had. And I said, you know, it's one way of looking at it, but the other way I can look at it is, I'm alive. I made it. Like, I won the lottery. I made it. And it's tough to do that at times. But
right.
That's the attitude. So it is, yeah. So it was that was my scare. And as I say, I'm getting better. And everyone I've known, who's spoken to, who've had a heart attack, I say, yeah, about a year, you'll start to feel even better and better. And thank goodness I'm on the right medication. I'm on the right programs to do what I have to do, and it'll be fine. But it just shows you, in the blink of an eye, everything can change. And you think you have control over it? Nope, you have none. You have absolutely no control. When I think about how the timing of this, had my wife not called the ambulance when she did, wait another 15 or 20 minutes, you guys would be talking to me right now through a medium. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be a different thing. So life is short, and we have our challenges, and just sometimes you just have to push through and whatever. Sorry, Natalie, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, you didn't interrupt me. No, not at all.
Sorry, that must have been just static on the line. Sorry, I thought I heard. That was weird.
That was somebody else coming through,
yeah.
medium.
Yeah,
somebody
right?
else that didn't make it.
You brought a spirit through somehow.
That's right. That's right. So that was my. That was it, and listen. I'm very grateful for. I simply cannot stress enough. First responders, doctors, hospital, these people. I don't know how they do what they do. I mean, like, first responders, a very close friend of mine is a police officer. I can't tell you how often, a very dear friend of mine, I always say to him, thank you for your service. And he just smiles at me. And I say to him, you don't understand, you deal with the problems of people, the issues in society that nobody wants to deal with, so they call you. Holy crap. And I've had firsthand experience now, which I've never had before. I've never been in an ambulance before, never been in a hospital before, nothing like this. And what they do. I mean, for me, that was a horrible, I almost perished Tuesday. But for those paramedics, they just call that Tuesday morning. They're off to do another call after that. And a friend of mine is a doctor, but he used to be a trauma unit doctor. And we were having a long chat about this, about how do you do that? You know, how do you face that, helping people and all that? He goes, I don't even think, and he's telling me stories of, you know, people come in near death, etc. And I'm listening. I want to faint just listening to what he's saying. I said, how do you do that? He goes, Jason, you're a magician and a speaker. You stand up in front of 500 people without even blinking and just talk to them. I go, yeah. He goes, oh, my God, Jason, I'm ready to vomit just even thinking about that right now. So it's that old story of city mouse, country mouse. We do what we do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But these first responders, doctors in the hospital, and of course for what they're going through now, holy crap, during COVID as well. I am so I mean, you can't. I wrote the hospital's letters. I wrote the paramedics, the helicopter, everything. I wrote them all thank you letters. I can't put into words what you do and what it does for people. And to them, it's a job. That's what they do. But I just don't think they hear it enough. Gratitude. I don't think a lot of people hear gratitude enough. Too much complaining about stuff. But to hear the gratitude of someone, just, you know, and it doesn't have to be big. It'd be, hey, thanks for holding the door open for me. I can be something as simple as that. But yeah, so that was my experience, and I'm very grateful to be here. And,
you had the same experience as Houdini. Houdini told that to his doctor on his deathbed. You know, you remember that story,
I don't know
right?
That story.
No, it was something to the effect of I wish I would have done something better with my life, Doc. And he's like, Houdini, you are, yeah, but you save people and you do this. And he's like, yeah, but you perform for people all over the world, and you are the great Houdini. All of my life is a lie. I pretend. You actually save people. Thank you. And it's like the same exact sentiments that you had.
But if you look at it from a different,
heard that story.
Yeah.
If you look at it from a different point of view, the doctor saves lives, and that's extremely important. But Houdini brought joy to a lot of people's lives, and did the whole thing that we've talked about before, where you can just get away and forget your everyday problems for that little bit while you're watching, and that that helps people in a different way. So he needed to look on the bright side.
Yeah, he does. But it's true, I mean, how often do we get, I don't know, you always hear stories of magicians, actors, performers who will, have someone come and visit them and say, we had just lost our dog. She was 13 years old. I was at the horrible time in my life, blah, blah, blah. And I came to see your show. And what you did with that deck of cards and that little kid who came up to act on stage, and everyone was giggling, said, it touched me so much. And yes, as performers are going, oh, thanks, it's our job. I'm glad I made a difference. But we do make a difference in people's lives. I agree with you, Natalie. It's different, of course, not like a doctor and all that. But we do make a difference, and we do inspire, and we do help people who've had a horrible week or a horrible day or whatever it is to just sit down with me for 5 minutes at the restaurant table. Let me perform magic at your table, or whatever. You're coming to see my half-hour show or whatever, just to forget about life for a bit, that all the complexities and the stuff, and let me just mystify you for a minute. Let me make you laugh, in my case, because I'm a comic magician, but let me make you laugh for a bit, or whatever it is.
Right.
It's very, I think it's very powerful stuff, and for children as well. I mean, Wes, I know that, so you visit children in children's hospitals.
I was gonna tell you a story in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something I tried. I'm trying to think. It was before I had kids. I couldn't do it. It was too upsetting for me, too emotional for me, and I just couldn't. And I remember speaking to, I think it was a nurse there, something about it, and I said, I'm having real problems. She goes, you're not alone. She goes, it does, and please, she said, don't feel bad. It's understandable. I said, I mean, these kids are so brave for what they do, and they have no choice, and they don't understand the complexities. They're only kids. They don't understand the complexities as an adult does. But what you can do to just bring that smile to not only an adult, but in this case, a child, it's amazing. I mean, it is. You're right, Natalie. What we do is a gift as well. It's a different sort of gift.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely different.
One of my restaurants that I was working before the pandemic was near a hospital. And I made it a point to go to every single table, and I didn't care what the reason was. They could be trying to pitch Amway. I've had that happen where they were just selling something across the table, and I'm like, maybe I can get that guy out of the meeting for 2 seconds and smile, because he's getting berated over there. And the guy that's pitching it's always, okay, thank you, goodbye. He's always trying to push off. But I didn't care. The first dates were always awkward, and I would try to break the tension, give them something to talk about, and break the ice. But if they had a medical bracelet on, that didn't stop me either. I go over there and entertain them. And so many times, we're over here having dinner. Our dad just passed away, and I can't believe you made us smile. Yes. Thank you. But that never stopped me. It didn't, they're just people. But when I go to hospital rooms, it might be ignorance, Jason, 1,000%, because I don't know what I'm getting into. When I was 18 years old, I worked for a Halloween event in October. And I worked there for 6 years. I did a sideshow. I did scary magic. And they sent us to King's Daughters Hospital in Virginia Beach. And back then, when I was 18, they didn't have HIPAA laws like they have here. HIPAA, I don't know what it stands for, but they can't tell you what's wrong with people. It's your right. You can tell people, but they're not allowed to tell you. When I was 18, that wasn't a law here in the States. So they just said, go over and see Tommy. He's got cancer. He probably won't be here tomorrow. And that's how they told me to do magic. That was totally different than it is today. Today, they're like, that's Tommy. He's 14. Go on in. I don't know if Tommy has a broken wrist, high blood pressure, cancer, AIDS. I don't know anything. They just send me in the room. And one room I went into, I tell the story in a lot of my television interviews, but Natalie videotapes, we get permission and sign paperwork and everything, because it inspires other people and it encourages other people to give back. And these poor kids at children's hospitals, you know, God bless them. And especially at Christmas time, because they try to send them home with IV bags and all this stuff. So if they're there at Christmas still, they really need your love. So, I'm going room to room, and they're like, all right, I just keep making up the name Tommy. That's Tommy. Tommy's 14. He's the next room. Go ahead on in. And sometimes the nurse follows in. Sometimes she sits in the hallway. And Natalie and I go in, and I go see Tommy, and Tommy's got a trach tube in his throat, and his eyes are rolled back in his head. And I immediately look to whoever's to my left or right, visitors, and I start performing for them. And I'm putting my magic down on the bed at his feet, and I call his little sister up, and I do a magic trick with her, and Mom and Dad come over, and they start doing magic, and they're laughing or whatever, and they're having a good time. And you feel the tension, the energy in the room. I don't know how to explain it. It might be woo-woo. It might be...
no, you could feel it. It changed.
Something. It was like the lights had a dimmer, and the lights turned brighter in the room. It didn't, but it felt that way. And it felt like it was a cold room, and it felt like it got hotter. It felt like it got warmer. Loving energy. And I thanked everybody. I have a little magic kit that I give them so the kid can practice magic long after I'm gone and everything. And I give them the kit. So I gave it to the sister and to give to the boy or whatever. And as I leave, the father follows us out in the hallway and says, hey, I can't thank you enough for what you just did. We just found out 5 minutes ago that my son's going to be paralyzed the rest of his life. And he's a trach tube. His eyes were rolled back in his head because he's heavily medicated. He had no idea I was even in the room. He had just broke his back, broke his neck or something, sleigh riding on Christmas Eve. So, I mean, you don't know what you're getting in the rooms. One little room I walked into, the girl looked like she was in a motorcycle wreck. She was like 7, and it looked like half her face was ripped off, like Freddy Krueger type scars on her face. And I'm showing her sponge balls, and I'm showing her card tricks, and she's laughing, but I'm scared to make her laugh because it looks like it's tearing the scabs.
It's like it's painful, yeah.
And I look over at the brother, and the brother had it, but on the opposite side of his face, and they were sharing a room. He was passed out on pain medication, but they said those kids were in a bad car wreck, and the car caught on fire. Yeah. And they couldn't leave for Christmas. So, I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get. But those people, I mean, they were so... That little girl was just a little girl in her heart. I mean, she wanted to laugh. She wanted to have fun. She wanted to participate in the magic, and she had a blast. And, you know, they draw me little pictures and give me hugs. And, dude, it's just... To be able to do that, I am super blessed. Yeah. I don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
But my problem is I don't know. I don't know about this stuff. So if a kid has a trach tube in, I try to talk to him, and then people are like, you know, I found out later from a respiratory therapist, oh, they can't talk. They're going to be medicated because they have a trach tube in, silly.
Right.
I don't know this. I don't know this stuff. So, you know, and you got to watch your, you know, it's stuff that I've learned in restaurants. You know, you don't ask for a right hand until you know they have one. It's stuff from years and years and years of experience. You know, can I borrow the palm of your right hand? I want to do a magic. They don't have a hand. So you just talk to them and get to know them. And as they uncover their hands from the bed and everything, and make sure you kind of just tiptoe through it. Yeah. But that's the hospital visits, man. Yeah, I'm blessed to be able to do it. I told Natalie if I hit the lottery, I'd still want to do that. I'd still want to perform.
Amazing.
But I definitely want to still do that, yeah. So, yeah, I think we have a gift, and it's awesome to be able to share with people. And with our kids, with having children, I always had respect for audiences. Thank you for buying a ticket to my show. Thank you for, coming out to my show. Yeah. But now that I have kids, I know what it's like to have to get them dressed, to comb the little girl's hair, to
everybody out the door at a certain time. Oh my Lord, it's like herding cats. To
get the babysitter, to get everything, to hurry home from work, to get that process started, to even go to the show. God forbid I lose my voice like that lady in last week's podcast and I had to cancel a show. I would never want to do that. I performed the night my mom died. I did a show because I know what it takes for all those people to go out and buy tickets and go out of their way to go online to buy a ticket or to go to the store to buy a ticket and then come that night to do the show. You could replace it and say, yeah, we'll do it next Friday. But how many of those people could be there next Friday? You can't. That's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, man.
Right.
Yep. Anyway, I don't know.
Anyway, getting back to you, how are you feeling a lot better? Are you feeling back to yourself, or is it still a slow process after? I mean, because that was major.
It's still a slow, for sure. It's still a slow process. I mean, look, I'm on. You have to take medication. You do all this stuff, which sort of messes with your system and all, and you have busy days and all that. But at the same time, the medication's what's saving you. But yeah, I mean, I'm up, I'm moving, I'm driving, I'm doing stuff. I'm just doing it maybe not as much to the extent that I used to. But yeah, I mean, everyone who sees it, they're like, wow, you look amazing. I guess in my mind, I thought, I'd be using a walker for a month, and that wasn't the case. And within a few hours of being home from the hospital, I was doing the stairs. I was shocked.
Awesome.
But that's part of what they do now. They used to, my grandfather, when he had a heart attack, my father told me, he said, no, he was like in bed for 6-7 weeks. He said, don't move. Now they get you up, walk, move, do what you got to do. So I think that as the year goes on, I'll feel better. I won't be as paranoid of every little flutter in my heart. What was that? Which is apparently very, very common because you're nervous now. You're nervous that this is what's going to happen because you think that the people who are going to have heart attacks are typically 60-year-old men with big bellies and holding a beer in one hand and a hamburger and a cigar in the other. Whatever. It's not the case. And you hear 40-year-old marathon runners in peak physical shape dropping dead of a heart attack.
Right.
You just don't know. So again, what I say, life is short. What are the 2 rules in life? Number 1, don't sweat the small stuff. Number 2, it's all small stuff.
Yeah. Did they have to do an angioplasty? Did you have anything?
Pardon me?
Did you have to get an angioplasty? Did you have to get the balloon clogged arteries?
Yeah, and you get a stent put in. There's something that just sort of holds it open and does whatever. I don't know. It's all above my pay grade. I'm not sure what it is, but that's they did it, and they did an absolute stupendous job, and amazing. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have surgery or anything, so thank goodness. I mean, other than catheter to be for the stent and all that goes in your vein, but it's that's sort of gross. But anyway, it's as I said, it was very close. It was very, very close. You don't realize it's close until after, and you're hearing the stories, and my wife is telling me, and whatever. But it's quite remarkable, and it just makes as I say, I've had a lot of friends around me who one friend decided I'm going to get my blood pressure checked because he hadn't had a physical in a couple of years because of COVID. A yearly physical from his doctor, and apparently his blood pressure was off the charts. He had no idea. And his doctor said, and now you begin your blood pressure med. So as my friend said to me, he goes, Jason, you may have just inadvertently saved my life. I'm like, awesome. Great. I'm glad that good is coming out of this. So So that was that's been my, as I say, my interesting last part of the year. So it's we finished. We go into 2022, and just being grateful and just pushing through.
Well, no one can say you had a dull 2021. That's for sure.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Oh
That's
my!
So true. It's so true. Yeah. Yeah.
So this first part of the podcast has been Hospital Talk with Jason Palter.
No, but it's been good.
Comedy magician, Jason Palter. Hospital Talk.
It's been good.
Well, can you imagine if someone's tuning in now going, did I just hit the Dr. Oz show? What was it? What's going on here? What the hell podcast they just tuned in on?
All right, so last year we talked and we said we're going to do a whole podcast just about restaurants. How did you get started? How did you get started in restaurants, and what was your take on it?
You know, I'll tell you, I agree with a lot what you said. I was 17 years old, and I started performing at a restaurant. I just thought it was a way to make some money, and of course to perform and all that. It didn't dawn on me of how significant, as you say, Wes, what it does for you as a performer. So my style is very improvisational. I ad-lib a lot, and I have to, and I do things very quickly on the fly, and that's what I'm known for, and whatever. I mean, you know, obviously follow a script if the client needs you to, but I don't. I'm also an actor, as you guys know, so I'm used to sort of playing in that realm of improv, but you can't do that in front of a mirror. So the restaurant, when you're doing, let's say, whatever, 4 hours a night, 1 or 2, 3 nights a week, and you're just going from table to table to table, 6 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 2 minutes at this one, 10 minutes at this one, over and over and over again. It's like as I say, the instructions on the shampoo bottles: rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And that's what you're just doing over and over and over again. You start to develop a lot of what to do when someone's drunk, what to do when they pick the wrong card, what to do when you forget the card, what to do when you blah, 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 and it just goes crazy. And for me, I was also going through a very difficult time in my life and teenagers on a personal level. I was 17 when I did started my first restaurant, and what was amazing is that I found those 4 hours a night, 3 nights a week, was therapy for me, because as you know, as performers, we all know we get into a zone. I mean, how often, I don't know if this is the case with you, but for me, how often I will come off stage and I'll say, I'm so glad I videoed that recording, that show, because I don't remember what just happened. Because I was so in the zone, it was meshing nicely with the crowd, you had a great show, and so you're just in your own area. So I found that doing the restaurant magic on a therapeutic level was tremendous for me, because it was an escape for me, and I could just improvise and play and joke with people and make my mistakes and learn from my mistakes and do it again. It made me some money. It didn't make me a lot. It's not like the type of money you get when you book a show, but it's steady. It's consistent. You can hand out business cards. People can ask you for your business cards. I mean, I'm a sort of I don't like to just hand out without being asked first. I think that's a little cheesy. I prefer, you know, throwing a business card down and say, here, book me, as opposed to, you know, you wait for somebody to ask.
I throw them down their throats. I put them in their wallets. I'll help them. You never know when you'll need this.
That's right. But it's very it's great. And also, then when I started creating magic in later years, and one of the restaurants I was at 12 years, 3 nights a week, I outlasted 6 general managers. And it also, when I was developing some of my products that I sell, I worked them on in the restaurant, because it's guaranteed bookings every week. So actually, the demo video footage for Third Degree Burn, and now Third Degree Burn 2.0, which is probably my best-selling trick, was all filmed in a restaurant I was performing for at the time. And they were kind enough to allow me to bring in someone with a camera and to do this stuff. So when I'm meeting younger magicians and they're saying, you know, what can I do to get better? What can I do? Whatever. I said, learn a few tricks. That's good, but stop learning every single trick in the book, because nobody cares. Number one. Number two, start working on your performance. Because at the end of the day, and I may have even said this the last time you guys had me on as a guest on your podcast, the audience doesn't know and doesn't care if the way the card got from the deck of cards into your pocket, for instance, is from some complex sleight of hand move that you worked every night on crazy to in front of mirrors, or if it was a little elastic band and zipped it in there when they weren't looking. Again, I'm just using an example. The audience doesn't care. They just know the effect. They know the one was there, and now it's there. That's all they know because they don't know how the trick works. So to me, I want to focus on the performance of it. And the restaurant is an amazing way to do that because you oh my gosh, I mean, can you remember, Wes? What age were you when you started doing restaurant magic?
16, 17. Yeah, right before I got my driver's license, my mom and dad used to drive me to my first restaurant. It was a Malaysian restaurant. I didn't even understand the type of food they had there. I was like, what? You got some kind of shish kebab lamb on a shish kebab? Yeah.
So even before, and depending on what restaurant you are working at, what type, what the crowd is like, and depending on whether you drank early or not, but you were dealing with drunk people long before you were drinking. Me, I was, I was doing the same thing too. And you have to learn how to deal with someone who's had 4 glasses of wine at a table, but you're there as the magician to do. How do you figure that out? You got to work on what happens when you're just about to reveal the spectator's watch in a box or whatever it is. Again, I'm just using an example. Just as the server, who's totally bogged down with 5 plates in his or her hand, coming up to the putting it down on the table, everyone's heads, they go and they look at the food just as you're about to say, ta-da! Oh, crap. Now, they turn to look at the food, then they look back at you as you go, ta-da, and they're going, you just made us, you made the waitress come over and do this. No, it's the timing. So you learn how to improvise around that. You learn how do you get around that. That is, you can't learn that in front of a mirror or off of a video. You got to do it. You got to get stomped a few times until you figure it out. And I had to figure out that stuff for myself because nobody taught me.
And my thing is, I always had my peripheral going, so I could see the waitress on her way over. And a lot of times I would grab my left wrist or grab my right wrist, and I put my hands above my head. I'm not going to move until she finishes his food.
Yes, exactly. But something like that, where you got to learn how to do that, or something like you're about to reveal the card. As the 4th person comes and sits down at the table, you thought it was a table of 3. You didn't realize that he was in the washroom. And now he comes back just as you're about to reveal the ring or reveal the card or whatever. So it's a really, and honestly, I just liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was tough work because I put a lot of energy into my shows, even if I'm just doing walk-around, close-up stuff. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed having the repeat come in. I enjoyed trying out my new stuff. And I highly recommend it for somebody who is trying to hone their skills of performing, just start performing. Anything that you can do. And even if the restaurant's not paying you a ton of money or you're only working for tips or whatever it is, just do it. Just do it. Because you really, I agree with you, Wes. For me, that was so groundbreaking at that time in my life when I was doing that first restaurant for about 3.5 years. When I was 17, that was huge and helping to shape my character as a performer. As I sort of would come, what's the line? Is you're coming into your own. As I was figuring out who I was as a performer. And of course, it continued to evolve and it developed, and it's still evolving as it always is. But yeah, it's great. It's really good. I love it.
I had return customers that would come to my restaurant 48 out of 52 weeks a year. And I would always try to come up with at least 2 new tricks to show them. And then something from the older stash. So it made me on purpose learn new magic every week. Even if it was a new card reveal or, something. Sometimes, you could do a puzzle. Have you ever seen this before? And then you just do a puzzle with them. Just something new, constantly learning, constantly evolving. And, towards the end of my run, I haven't done... So I did Fool Us in March 2020. And when I came home, the world shut down. And I didn't go back to restaurants. Number one, I don't want to do a restaurant. Face-to-face, having people touch my playing cards, touch coins, your close-up magic, with a mask on, they're not going to get my nuances. It's not going to work with a mask.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when I was doing restaurants right before that, I got it a lot more often. Not that I'm famous, not that I'm a celebrity, not that I'm even trying to say any of that. But I had a lot more people ask, why are you here? you're too big to be here. Why are you here? And I was constantly saying that, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock still do, little comedy nightclub dive bars to work on new material. And it's 1,000% true. I can't go do a, what is it, $250, $300 an hour of close-up magic with a 2-hour minimum and work on new material at that type of event for a law firm agency across the world. But I can try out new material at a restaurant that I'm working every single week. And that's where I could bust in new stuff. And, nowadays I can try it at a coffee shop or, I go to my regular bank and the people know me and I can try out new material there. But it was priceless, man. It was awesome. And, I still have friends that I met in restaurants that I've seen their children grow up week after week after week. And the connections that you made. Because in our line of work, and what I love about the podcast, is I get to meet people from all over the world in different lines of work. And I'm like, how does that work? Because I only know magic. Seriously, I only know magic. How do you make it work? What do you do? That's weird. You go to the same place every day? Does that get boring? What the heck? Yeah.
It's true. It's back to that city mouse, country mouse, the tale that I was talking about earlier. It's amazing. And our jobs in the restaurant, I always say, is, and if I'm coaching people on, the magicians on this and whatever, I say, just don't forget that restaurant succeeds and does very well without you. Don't you ever forget that. You are an enhancement. You may be the reason some people come, but overall, if you lost your job and you won't work, and I'm going to tell you right now, that restaurant is still going to be serving great food and is going to succeed and do well, so don't get cocky. I don't mind you being confident, but don't get cocky about it. Just remember that. So the line I used to say is, I'm an ambassador. I'm there. My job is to put those customers in a good mood. When they're in a good mood, they're going to treat the servers and the bus people and all the staff, they're going to treat them better and tip them better. Now that when the servers are being tipped better, they're in a better mood as well. Everybody's happy. Mm-hmm. So that's my job. And when Table 5's burger hit the floor in the kitchen and they're making a new one and holy crap, there's a delay. Jason, Table 5, we just had a problem. No problem. I'm on it. Boom, I'm at that table. Suddenly, those extra 8 minutes or whatever they had to wait for another burger to be freshly cooked, it was vanishing like in a time warp because you were there making them laugh or entertaining them or fooling them or whatever it was, and they're back. That's your job. So the restaurant does well without you. You're there as an enhancement to the customer's experience. And listen, as one of the managers at one of my restaurant jobs said to me, he goes, "Look, Jason, I get comment cards all the time about you." I'm like, great. I mean, that's I'm doing my job. Are there any complaints? Because I always say, I don't like to hear complaints, but you want to know. So if there's something you're doing wrong, you can improve or whatever. And I remember him saying to me, look, I'll get people who will say, the service was slow, the food sucked, but I really like that magician. We're coming back to see him. He goes, well, that's what brings him in. Maybe we had an off night, Jason. Maybe the food was off. Maybe the server was having a bad night. But if that's what brings him in, so that again reinforces what I say. You are an enhancement to the customer's experience. The restaurant does well without you, so don't get too angry if the server puts food down while you're performing, because people's first and foremost reason for being there is because it's called a restaurant. They're there to eat. They're not a magic show. They're there to eat. So that's the priority. You're just there as an enhancement for it. And I think if you have that attitude, listen, it doesn't mean you're not going to get frustrated when you were just about to have a great ta-da moment. But if you are there with that attitude, I think that you're going to have a much better time in your employment in the restaurant, understanding that and not to get too upset, because restaurant's job, first and foremost, serve the food, make them happy, turn it over, bring in the next group.
Right.
We had, I was helping somebody break into the restaurant business during COVID times, and they were just trying to look for something. They wanted to go full-time during that time. And, I was breaking out all my old lecture notes and everything, and when I approached a restaurant, I loved the win-win situation. You go there and you say, hey, how does Monday nights look for you? Oh, we're packed on Monday nights. That's great. You know, I can help entertain the people while it takes a little longer for food. Do you have a wait to get in the restaurant? I'll work that line. I'll make it feel like it's no wait. So that's great. We're dead on Monday nights. That's great. Give me 8 weeks. If I don't have a line out the door, feel free to fire me. Give me 8 weeks to try it. Yeah, it's,
you customize to whatever they need, right?
it's just a win-win situation. No matter what they tell you, you're going to help them. And I honestly, I used that 8 weeks to get to know the customers. I never got to know the staff really, because the staff come and go so quick. The customers will last way longer than the staff. And
You got to know me.
I got to know one staff member. It was Natalie. She was a waitress at a restaurant. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. And you know, some of the waitresses would, you know, end up after 5 years being assistant manager or manager, and they're like, "You really don't know my name after all this time?" I'm out on the floor working with the people. No, I don't know your name. I was doing 6 restaurants, you know, 9 restaurants, 6 days a week at one point. I couldn't remember all those different people in all those different restaurants. And they would move. They could be there for 6 years, but if they don't work Tuesday nights anymore, well, I don't see them.
Yes. Yeah.
And they know me, but I don't know them.
That's right, because there's only one magician to remember.
Yeah.
A ton of staff, and you have to remember for sure.
Yeah. No, but I was coaching this person about restaurants, and I like the 8-week contract because by the end of 8 weeks they see that business is definitely increased, or people are asking for me, and it's undeniable. What was your pull? Yeah. Did you do an 8-week contract? What did you do?
No, I didn't. I never. You know, I was sort of much longer term. It sounds like you had multiple spaces. I had over. I mean, I would do one at a time. I never did two at a time. And I stayed for a long. I was very fortunate that they would employ me for a while, and then I would move on, or they decided they don't want to spend any more money, or they get someone new higher up in head office and says, no, we're just a bean counter who's only concerned about that. That actually did happen at one place where they said, Jason, so you got to be kidding me. They said, you're bringing in business, you're maintaining consistency for a lot of our customers, but there's someone up in higher office, whatever, looking at numbers. They said, I said, it just blows my mind. He says, I know. The manager said, I know, because I actually said to head office, he said, but this is what he does. Yeah, we know. He said, have you come down to watch Jason? Well, no, it doesn't. No. Have you come down to watch what he does? And so, but they wouldn't. They wouldn't come in to see, to understand the value of what they're paying, because let's face it, restaurant magicians, you don't make nearly as much money as if you are doing a regular show, like a regular corporate or private gig.
But it's a hell of a lot more than a waitress.
Yeah, hell of a lot more, absolutely. But when you look at it overall, what they're paying you really is the difference of only, maybe, again, depending on what it is and how often, like 2 or 3 tables a night coming in is what they're paying you. But if you're bringing in a lot of people, as you say to the restaurant, would 2 or 3 tables a night really make or break your numbers? Well, no, it wouldn't. Okay, then. But look at everything I'm bringing here for that for that amount of money. Look at the increase that you're getting. But unfortunately, and I've said this, Wes, we've talked about it before, some people just don't have the vision. They're only focused on the dollar. They don't understand the creativity. They don't understand thinking outside of the square. They don't understand trying things a little bit different. Maybe if you're a little off-center, that's what stands out. Be different.
And if it's Thursday night and you're going to go eat out, where do you want to eat at? You want to eat out at the place that sells burgers? You want to eat at the place that sells burgers and sells fun? Let's have fun tonight, Mom.
It just helps a little bit.
Right.
I always say that about just something to be different. So my daughter is auditioning for an art school very shortly, and we were talking about this and just which monologue she wanted to do. And I was saying to her, it's something that I was told many, many years ago when I did a class for acting for auditioning. And I remember the coach saying, look, in the case of audition, whatever, they're seeing so many people audition for that part of the day. Be different. Do something that makes you, even if you don't get it, make a different choice. Do something funny. Don't be obnoxious, obviously, but do something different that stands out. And that's when I was saying to my daughters, whatever you're doing in this audition, let's try and shape it, or let me help you shape it a little bit, so that there's something that's going to be memorable about it. So in the case of the restaurant, something that's going to stand out is they've got a magician. That makes you stand out as a business. Makes you stand out from the guy across the street. The establishment across the street. And so when we're talking about thinking outside of the square and just being different, you want to. I don't know. Just some people just don't have vision. They just don't get it. They just think restaurant is food, serve the table, clean everything up. But it's not. There's more to it than that. There's nuances. It's the same thing when we're doing a routine on stage. There's nuances and subtleties that you bring to the performance and how you shape it in that moment. There's an art to it. It's what I say as an actor. I said, so that people understand this who aren't magicians. I say, as an actor, I can teach you how to read a script. Anyone, you can teach somebody who is not literate in theory. You can teach them to read, but I can't teach you how to act. So I can teach you how to do a magic trick, but I can't teach you how to perform. So part of what the restaurant stuff does, and the repetitiveness of a performance, is helps you to build your performance, your nuances, the little bits, learning how to handle people on stage. Because Wes, you and I have talked about this before, of how nasty some magicians are to their audience members, that they get to help them with a trick or get them to help them with a routine on stage, and they think they're being funny and clever. They're not. They're being downright embarrassing. And so there's little nuances like that. I mean, a real.
And God forbid if you get that. God forbid if you get that audience member in your show later on, they don't want to help. They're sheepish. They've been burned before.
Well, that's just it.
Yeah.
And so I've had that before where people are a little bit shy. So I like, the first few things that I'm doing on stage when I'm doing a show is for the establishing, is try to establish that, hopefully they think I'm a nice guy, and hopefully they think that that I'm approachable and I'm not going to embarrass them on stage. But I was just speaking to another magician about this a couple of weeks ago. Even just something as subtle. So if you're doing a show on a stage where there's stairs, a really nice thing to do is when the audience members coming up to the stairs, come and meet them at the stairs. When they're, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a big hand. Even if it's a gentleman that you've had up on stage, walk him to the stairs and just be prepared that if he stumbles, you're there to grab him. You know what? It's a subtle thing, but I think even on a subconscious level, it sets into people's minds that guy cares about his audience.
Yeah.
He's making sure, just instead of just letting them go and you're going off to your case to go get the next thing, and this guy's going ass over tea kettle down the stairs, and hope he lands on his feet, right? So, but still, it's not cool. So the little things like that, where you get to build your performance, get to build your style that you're doing with people. I just think is important, and that the restaurants definitely helped me with that.
Dude, we could talk about this for another 3 podcasts. We are out of time. Paltergeist.com is where you can get all of Jason's awesome creations. PalterGeist.com and JasonPalterLive.com to find out where he'll be performing next. And check him out on Facebook, Jason Palter, Palter. Jason, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome, too. I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me again. And anytime you want, I'd love to chat more.
Absolutely.
We
always have fun with you.
We'll do it again. It's easy, man. You're like my brother, man. I love you. I swear I do. Hey, stay on the line. I have a couple plugs, and then we'll wrap everything up. Our TV show, Wes Iseli's Magiclife, has now been picked up by Golden Media Syndication. They're selling our show across the country, so check your local listings to see if we're in your area. If not, ask your local cable provider, and hopefully we will be soon. Also, check out WesIsley.com for show merch, our logo t-shirts, my TV podcast t-shirts, Magic Man hats, stickers, playing cards, and more. See you next week.
Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Isley for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled Wesiseli.